Hello, and welcome to the Model Railroads and Structures Show. Hey guys, and welcome to the Model Railroads and Structures Show. In today's show, we're going to have a couple of guests join, hopefully. Already joined is Edward Traxler and Nick Masney from ImagineThatLaserArt.com. In today's show, I'm going to be unboxing a Sierra West Craftsman kit that I bought for $400. And I'll show a little update on the Chicago L from Imagine That. And what else was I going to do? Let's just get the show started. So, how are you guys doing?
Doing well.
What are you working on? Oh, I got Chester Fessmeyer as well. Woohoo!
The master of HO.
Yeah. So, Edward, you were working on your on 30 kit, weren't you? Or not? Your layout.
Yeah, I was just messing around. I finally decided to add some pilings to the end of my pier, since I didn't want a truck falling off the end of it. Start screen share.
There, it's come up. That's good.
Oh, can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, that looks awesome.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, that's an.
I'm just poking around. I figured though that the end of the pier was open, and it probably, even pre-OSHA, it would have been a bad thing.
That's fantastic. Well, Edward, what scale is that? Is that OM30?
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you.
And it looks like you might have carved those the retaining wall blocks individually, or is that something different?
No, it's just a casting. I just cast. I used my favorite mold, which is Lego blocks, and just made and carved it.
Wow, that's outstanding. Nice job.
Thanks. I mean, I like the I tell people I could be a modeler. I'm not. I mean, I like to model railroads, but I'm foremost a modeler. Really, I like the sculpting in miniature.
For sure.
Oh, there's Ron. Okay.
Yeah. So Chester Fessmeyer is going to be coming into the call soon. Nick.
Yes, sir.
You been working on anything lately?
Yeah, well, keeping busy, right? The little business has been keeping Ray and I going like crazy. I haven't had much time on my own layout to do much. I actually got some people coming over this morning, a young family that has some interest in model railroading, so we're gonna give them a little show this morning and
Awesome.
see if we can entice the father and the son and daughter into it a bit. And I guess that's somewhat of our duty, right? To try to continue the interest in the hobby.
Yeah.
Aside of that, I got spent a lot of time recently. George's Trains up in Toronto and Credit Valley in Mississauga have reached out for some product. Grimsby Station is one of them, and the Rapido gondola floors are seemingly gathering speed right now, which is great. So Renee was building a bunch of those up yesterday, and working on a new kit, Ron. Maybe one of my first new total kits from scratch, kind of collaborating with a local modeler from around the Elmer area.
Yep.
And He's kind of been, long story, but I won't bore everybody with it today. But it's kind of a masonry building. It's configurable into a couple of different shapes. Like a freight forwarding type of a building with a loading dock in a bit of a pocket on the side of the building, and a little bit of a distressed brick look on this one this time around, Ron. So hopefully we'll be able to push something over to you and you can have a look at it in this environment.
Sure, sure. I seen the test drawings, I think, at your house, right?
You might have seen a few of those, yeah, kicking around, some hand scratching and whatnot. And finally got it to the point where I've given the gentleman three sets to start putting together. He's gonna paint them in various configurations, like you would have a stock model, let's say an average paint job, one coat. And then he'll probably dress it up into a few different layers of weathering and whatnot, a few different extremes and levels of detail. So it'll be kind of neat, kind of following along some of the conversation you and I have had in the past about, what level of detail can you provide in a kit, and to entice the average modeler, the experienced modeler, that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. What was I going to say? So those modelers you're invited over to your house, they from local to you?
Yeah, that gentleman lives just outside of Elmer, so about a half-hour drive away from here. And yeah, so he and I have been kind of working a bit together. He's been taking some of my material and testing his weathering techniques on it. He traditionally weathers the plaster-based models. So who's that manufacturer? He escapes my mind now, or my memory at the moment. The large plaster modeler.
Downtown Deco?
Yeah, sir, that's it. Yep. So he does a lot of that stuff, and he's really, really intrigued by the fact that he can make the same effect appear on my laser cut wood product as he can on that Downtown Deco with half the work in his work.
Oh yeah.
So that's positive. So we're just kind of exploring a few options. I'm learning, he's learning, so it's a good thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been working on that L.
Yeah, I'll bet you have.
Feels like 100 feet of it.
How's it coming? I was wondering.
It's coming well. We've got the factory line going on, building legs, and then building part by part, and the hard part is going to be packaging it up to bring it to the client.
Wow, yeah, that's going to be a challenge for sure.
Yeah. So, and when I get there, I got to install it on the layout. So I imagine that's going to be day.
Yeah, no doubt, Ron.
A day or two to install it. So
yeah,
I'm just trying to get. Oh, we got Michael Graff here too. Just trying to figure out this whole Google thing.
You're doing better than I could. So, Edward, where are you located?
I'm in South Carolina. I'm about 2 miles from Camden. You know where that's at?
Oh, wow. Okay.
In a little town called Lugoff.
Oh, nice.
I retired out of the Army, so I basically found me a little quiet place to live.
So that was Nick Masney's update, or what's on the bench, I guess. So for I'm gonna just run through the things that I have planned for my presentation, and that's gonna be just to unbox the Craftsman kit that arrived this week. Maybe by next show we'll have an idea of how to get people to get their mics fixed and stuff like that. I know I had a lot of trouble when I first started to get my stuff all set up. So let me just change cameras here. This kit arrived this week. This is a Sierra West Craftsman kit. It was $400. But I buy these kits because I find them. Each time I build one, uh, I think I become a better modeler because these guys who create these kits are master modelers. They have a, a large amount of skill, and as you can see from the picture, this model can be made into a masterpiece itself, a contest kit. This is what it could be. So just to get through this, this kit, I consider these to be craftsman kits because they come with manuals that are actually books. You know, they come. This one doesn't have color, but it does. It goes through every part of how to build a craftsman kit. You even go through and you build one of these derrick, like a crane. It comes with so many detail parts that you could go days and days with all the detail parts. It's probably going to take me a week just to paint these things. As you can see, there's about 3 pounds of parts. Other things that come with the kit, like all laser cut. The roofing's all made out of card. Comes with metal roofing, laser cut shingles, chain for the derrick. This is a boat shell for the boat that's in the picture. Is it in this picture? No, it's not in that picture. Other things that come with the kit are full templates. The one that I looked at earlier here was when we build this. This one's for the boat. Put the boat together. Anyways, with all these parts, even if you're an amateur modeler, you're paying for the instructions and how to build these kits. And after you build a kit like this, it's not so hard to take these skills and move them on to a kit of a lesser cost. I've built probably about 15 craftsman kits over the years, and I think that it's a really good way to learn how to model. I totally credit my modeling skill to the likes of Brett Gallant, who makes these kits, George Celios from Fine Scale Miniatures, and I've also built a South River Model Works kit, among others. Ron Miter of Laser Modeling 3. I gotta add him to the list too because he's a craftsman kit maker as well. So that's my presentation of what I'm going to be building this summer. This kit's probably going to take me a good 100 hours to build, so there will be lots of video to be had from that. I'll change my mind.
Your $400 kit, though, you divide the number of hours into the cost, so you're only paying like $4 an hour for if you did 100 hours. That's kind of how I look at it.
Very true, very true. And you get the kit, you get all these detail parts. There's a lot of time in painting those things, and those are things that don't usually come with the kit. You end up buying, you end up spending $50, $60, sometimes even more to get these detail parts. So it's a big part of the kit. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at some Artista figures yesterday, and they were around between $6 and $7 a piece for the little guys. I mean,
Exactly. Exactly. This kit doesn't come with any little men, little people, but it does. You know, it's. I find them to be. People roll their eyes at when they see a kit like this, or you know, at the price. You know, they scoff at the price, but you know, buying the kit itself boosted my performance, my skill drastically. I've got a telephone call. Ed, you got
yes.
something to talk about for a second?
Well, okay. Well, you're on the phone. I mentioned the Artista figures, and the reason I was looking, I wanted to see how much they actually, cost. But the reason being, I exported a 3D figure up to Shapeways. I haven't had it printed. I don't know how well it will print. But I can actually, my cost to me will be at least no more than what the Artista figures are. So that's something I'm going to look into. The cool thing, there's a program called DAZ 3D, which seems to be used by little girls and stuff mostly. It's like little puppets.
Yeah.
Virtual puppets, I guess you'd call them. They can put clothes on them and then render them in like a castle or whatever. And what I found out was that you can actually export the 3D mesh. So I'm gonna play with that.
Chester also sent a message, but I guess we're not getting through to him.
That's a shame because Chester, for anybody that does not know him, his HO vehicles look like 1/25th scale.
Well, actually, that recent barn model that he photographed was, oh my God, it looked real until he said it wasn't a model. And I've seen people say that before, but this is the first time I've ever had to really look that close to find out if it was a model or not.
And then to realize the vehicles that's in it are 187s. Mostly Jordan. He likes Jordan a lot, and some of the other. But you're just like, your mouth drops open, and you're like, oh my gosh.
Exactly. Exactly.
He's like that Japanese modeler that does the 1/150th, I think, the Japanese N scale. He does all this awesome scratch building at that scale. I mean, you just sit there and go, you just shake your head like, oh my gosh.
Sorry, Nick, I had you muted there.
It's okay, buddy. No problem.
I'm still all new to this stuff. I'll get better, I'm sure.
It's okay.
How's sales been for Imagine That?
Not too bad. Like I mentioned, a couple of new products out there. The Grimsby Station starting to get a lot of traction.
I seen that on the George's newsletter, by the way.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the photos, I'm going to have to send him my better photos. He took the photos from that gentleman I was speaking to you about, that local modeler. So the local modeler had done it up, but not quite to the original intent, the prototypical intent, which is okay. Everybody's got their own flair and style, right?
Yeah.
So I think I'll send them my official website photos and that. And so that's good news, and it's also it's out in Canadian Railway Modeler magazine as well. I know that's small potatoes, but it's a start. And like I said, the Rapido Gone floors are starting to really pick up. Credit Valley's chomping at the bit to get a hold of them right now.
Well, they take all these models that come out around the outside that you usually see is done with a great amount of fidelity, but when you look underneath the car or inside the car, it doesn't really have that fidelity. So
right.
those probably add a lot towards the realism of a model.
I think so too. I think just dropping in and it's all about the right material too, right? So you're putting in an authentic material. You can't beat wood. Replicating wood with wood in some cases. So I think it's cool.
Yeah, well, nothing looks like wood better than wood.
Exactly.
So what would it take to one of those gondola floors? You don't have a picture of it handy, do you?
Let me work on that. I can try to share one with you once I
If you
figure that
if you
technology.
send,
What's that?
oh, like if you bring up a picture in a window on your computer, and then on the left bar of Hangouts there's a screen share.
Okay.
You have to bring up the picture first, and then the screen share button, and then you can pick the window that you want to choose.
Okay, cool. Give me a minute here. I'll dig some up.
Sure, sure. I should have actually. I've got a couple of photos of Imagine That right here that I can bring up. This whole YouTube thing.
Yeah, I got my first video out on YouTube too.
Oh, did ya? Good.
It's just a picture of my hands putting that floor in, actually. But it's kind of unnerving. You don't realize how, and I can appreciate what you're going through right now too. It's not easy, right?
No, it's not easy at all. So this is a picture of the original Imagine That laser art display layout that many people have probably seen at the NMRA shows in Milwaukee and Detroit, I think. I think it's also made it to Springfield a couple of times before you bought the business.
Yeah, I believe it did. Still working on trying to find my filing system. Obviously, isn't working so well. I can't find those dumb things. I'll get there.
It's all good.
I'm gonna blame it on my wife. She must have moved some stuff around on this
It's
PC.
Mother's Day. You can't do that today. It's not happening. Edward, is this that RS laser kit you're talking about? Is this the one?
Let me see. No.
No, okay. Because
The one, I guess, the Randolph Depot. It's the thing with like a turret,
oh, okay, okay. Whoa.
and it's like I won it. I entered the one of the build offs on what is it, Kit Laser? I mean Kit Forums website.
Yeah.
And so I won it, and then it was too big. I can't use it. So I thought about actually sending it back to the guy, since he's a modeler. You know, he's like everybody else. He's a kit manufacturer, modeler, and all that. So he hangs out sometimes on the Whistle Poke chat and asks him to trade it for like his water tank or something.
Who's that? Is that Jimmy Degnan?
No, it's the RS Laser.
Oh, Richard Shepard. Yeah, he's a very nice guy, and he supports the hobby, and well, he's supported the Modelers Guild in a big way over the years. He's sent us a few kits for review and stuff like that.
Right.
He's a great guy.
Hey Ron, where's that share button again?
It's on the left-hand side. It's a green button with an arrow.
Oh, got it. Okay, you ready for me to try this?
Sure.
Yay. Let's see if I can, I'll pull up the specific pictures. Can you see my, all those little tiles?
Yep.
Okay, let me just open that up. So there's not the best quality photograph, but you can start to see a little bit of
Oh, I see down in the middle there.
the drop-in part. Can you see that, the floor in the gondola?
If you right-click on that and press Preview, it'll probably bring up a nice picture for us.
I thought you weren't a geek.
There's preview, buddy. I don't see preview.
Right click on the picture.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Okay. No, it don't show that. Oh,
Or if you click on the picture and then up at the top it says preview, beside organize.
Beside organize.
Just below your URL bar.
Okay.
See the preview button? I'm looking on your screen here.
Yeah, you can see my screen, but I don't see what the heck are you looking at?
Organize, preview, burn, new folder across the top.
Yeah, but I don't see organize.
It's the first one.
Really? I see file, print, email.
Below.
We're looking at your screen.
The window with all your photos.
Yeah.
Okay, that has the sidebar with your computer and all your folders in it.
Yeah.
So just above that, it says videos, and then there's preview.
Let me go this way.
Yeah, there you go. In the window, right there.
All right. Did
Now
that?
you gotta select the photo first, though.
All right. Got it selected. See that?
And then press preview now.
Should be the same.
Oh, okay. So the problem is you got to press screen share again, and it should show you the windows to choose.
Oh, is that right?
It's not showing us. It's showing us your folder window.
It still is? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, hang on. What are you seeing now? Anything?
The same folder window.
Shoot.
If you press screen share again, you should be able to get a choice.
Okay.
Oh, we're changing now.
All right.
Nice green screen.
Screen's green.
Yeah.
How about that?
Nothing yet.
I have to do some practicing offline.
Sure. Well, don't when I put this video back up, I'll be cutting out all
This goofy stuff.
topic and dead air and yada yadas.
If you cut all the goofy stuff out, you don't have anything left.
Shh.
Oh, there we go.
You see that?
Yeah.
Okay, let me see if I can flip a few pictures around here. There's, it's tough to see. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, so if I scroll in a bit, you can still see it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can kind of, it's not a great photo, but you can see the stock floor up in here. Can you see you can see my cursor too?
Yes.
We're actually watching your screen as you move it around.
Perfect. Okay, so there's the drop-in floor right there as an example, and that's basically it in its raw form.
So you really don't have to do anything to it.
No, that was the thought. It was that's really coming off the laser just like that, and that's why I'm kind of calling it a weathered wood floor, because you really don't have to do a thing. You could, I've done some gray washing and things like that on my models, and it does take it another level. But for the average guy, just dropping that onto this, mono-coated gray floor makes a huge difference.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
Like if you're putting down a metal, like putting stuff in there, you could put dirt, dark weathering in there.
Yep.
In those spots, but it looks great as it is.
Yeah, and then you can drop some some rusty parts in there or whatever. That's probably a better photo there as an example.
I like how you got the weld bond there.
Yeah, just as a bit of an example. But actually, this LePage's glue works really well. Gel-based ACC.
That's the other glue I use.
Yeah, it locks pretty quick, and honestly, you don't have to hold your part down as long as you do with this stuff, right? So, although this is good stuff, no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
I like that Gel CA, the way they have it too, because it doesn't dry up on you.
Yeah, exactly.
We got Chester in the call now. Hi, Chester. Dark weathering in there in those spots. But, you gotta mute your YouTube video.
Yeah, then you can drop some some rusty parts in there or whatever. That's probably a better photo there. That's an example.
Chester, you're watching the YouTube video live as well. You need to mute that because it's coming through your mic.
ACC.
That's the other glue I use.
Yeah, it locks pretty quick.
He'll figure it out in a minute. You got 30-second lag, remember?
Can you see the other photo that's up?
Nope.
No?
It's the same one.
Okay, hang on a sec.
Oh, we got Chester in the call now. Hi, Chester.
How you doing, fellas? Good morning. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, Chester. Mute your YouTube video.
Yeah, then you can drop some rusty parts.
We'll figure it out. Oh, there we go, Nick. You're watching the YouTube video live as well. You need to mute that because it's coming through your mic.
Mine?
Yep.
Me?
That's the other glue I use.
Yep, you.
It locks pretty quick.
I need to mute it.
You'll figure it out in a minute. You got 30-second lag, remember?
God, I'm hearing this stuff like 3 times.
The other photo that's up.
Okay, Nick, go ahead with that. That's the
Grimsby Station with some not so good photoshopping around it, I must admit. But this was the basis of the ad that I threw into CRM magazine, and that's the kit as it's intended to be built. So a little bit different than the one you saw on George's flyer. Obviously, a different flair to that one the other modeler produced. But this is the way it's intended to go together with the proper CN colors and that on it. So that's hopefully going to get some traction and get out there and get some attention.
I like, you see, you got a nice solid base on that so that the modeler doesn't have to put it on anything. You know, that's 30-second lag, remember?
Yeah, nice hardboard base, and then all those walls really, they kind of tab into that floor, so you can't make a mistake positionally at all. It's all going to go together properly. Station with some not so good photoshopping around it, I must admit, but.
Okay. I'm still figuring out this mute button.
It's okay. I thought I was listening to my twin brother for a second.
Yeah. I'm like, where's this coming from? So, how much is this kit?
Retails for $189 on my website.
For the size of that kit, that's very reasonable.
Yeah, thanks. I think so. I mean, there's a lot of good, it's a fairly easy build as a Craftsman kit. I mean, the challenge is really around those towers. Especially that small rounded tower is a bit of a challenge for your average guy because the wood that is comprised has to be soaked in water and formed around a dowel or something to get that shape to set properly. And similarly with that rounded or that conical witch's hat roof, it's a challenge, but it can be done. As you can see, that model is real. Is there an interior circle that you glue it to? Yeah, there's a structure underneath that's kind of like a ribbed structure comprised of vertical sections. So if you can envision some triangular wooden joists almost within that roof. So what I did with that is I just basically ACC'd it, right above where the train order board ties in. That upper brace is. So if you start there and you wrap around, there's a seam that you don't see because it's out of sight behind that, behind the tower. But you basically want to work that roof around so that you close that seam out of view behind the back of the roof behind the tower. So it's doable. It's just a bit of a challenge, as a lot of these kits can be. But that's probably the most significant challenge in the entire build.
Yeah, everything else looks square and circle that you glue it to.
Yeah, there's a structure underneath.
And we're still getting Chester's YouTube video. The YouTube video, all you have to do is turn down the volume on it, not mute it. It's in the bottom bar in the YouTube video. There's a little volume bar. Just bring that down to the bottom, and our Hangouts should then. I don't know why your Hangout's not sending you sound, Chester. Starting. Oh, maybe we got it fixed.
I can hear you fine.
Okay, here we go. Chester's on live.
Hi, guys.
How are you doing, Chester?
Wondering what's new?
Yeah. This Chester Fessmeyer has got to be one of the best photographers I've ever, well, photographer slash modeler I've ever seen using a little point and shoot. All you have to do is turn down the volume on it, not mute it. It's in the bottom bar in the YouTube video. There's a little volume bar. Just bring that down to the bottom, and our Hangouts should then. I don't know why your Hangout's not sending you sound, Chester.
I can hear you. I'm fine. I can hear you fine.
But your sound's coming in 30 seconds after we say it, so it's kind of like talking to somebody in China.
Right. Gotcha.
So you getting me live sound now? How are you doing, Chester?
I'm going to try to adjust the bandwidth here and see if that'll help.
Sure. We'll fix this up in the recorded show so that you know, maybe next week we can, or next time you're on, we can have it all fixed up proper.
I just turned off my YouTube video just because it was easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tremendous lag. I can see that.
Yeah. So what are you working on these days, Chester?
Actually, it's I got an offer here recently to do a video of all things.
Oh, really?
Hey, Ron, sorry to interrupt you. I'm going to have to drop off. I got company coming.
Okay, thanks for coming, Nick.
Hey, thanks for the opportunity to share some stuff.
No problem. Maybe next time we'll do it again.
Sounds great. Talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Okay, Chester, are we live?
You're live on my end. I don't know.
Okay, perfect. Before I was sending you a message, and then all of a sudden, 30 seconds later, you'd say something.
Am I back to a normal response now?
Yeah, you're back to normal.
Excellent. What's been happening? Well, I actually got an offer to do some videos. I won't say who made the offer. It's a popular kit maker, and he sent me a whole bunch of kits of the Jordan Model TT truck, and I'm going to build them in several stages and put together a video for him. Go over to his place and visit with him, and he has a photographer all set up, and it'd be an exciting experience. I've never done anything like that before.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. So that's about it. I have some small projects of my own that I have on the bench for this fun stuff, you know. But other than that, nothing major. Oh, I'm going to try and scratch build or kit bash an RDA building into a firehouse, which ought to prove interesting. I don't know much about firehouses, but we're going to try it.
Oh wow, those RDA kits are really they're not so much money.
No, they're not expensive, and they're easy to manipulate. They're easy to chop up and make a mess of. But yeah, we can. I think we can do something with it.
Yeah, I've built a few of those. So this video, you're doing it with a friend who's local to you, then? I take it?
No, actually, well, I guess I probably could let the cat out of the bag. I wasn't told to be quiet, but Brian Bollinger of Best Trains.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and I've done some things for him already. He has a kit that he's producing of a garage, a rural garage, and I did a whole bunch of trucks for him to give away with the kits.
Oh, wow.
So we've worked together before, but never in this endeavor, this type of endeavor. He apparently has another vehicle modeler lined up to do a different kind of kit than what I'm going to be putting together. But it'd be interesting. Like I say, I've never sat before a camera before and actually tried to do any instruction. So. I don't know how photogenic I am. I don't know how interesting these will be, but the kits are cool, and I love the Jordan kits, and they're fun to put together, and I think people could learn something if they watch.
Brian Bollinger actually was the first guy to ever send me a kit for the Modelers Guild website. He's a great guy, and his website is at besttrains.com, BEST. Or is it just best.com? I think it's Best Trains.
Yeah, it's Best Trains. BEST Trains. Yeah. They're over in New Hampshire, so they're not, they're a few hours away, but I think, I don't think it'll be a problem.
Right on.
New Hampshire is more than a few hours from me.
It would be. I'm over on the coast.
Hey, Chester, this is Ed. We meet on the forums, but first time we ever met.
How do you do, Ed?
I'm doing all right, man.
I've always been an admirer of your work. Thank you.
Thank you. That's I don't. Well, and it's mutual, so.
There's a lot of that going around.
About your barn that you built just for the photos.
Yeah.
And Ron was saying that if he didn't know better, he would have thought it was a real actual photograph.
Well, what is modeling all about? It's making it real in miniature. I mean, that's what it's all about for me. And if you can convey that in photographs, and you can then we've achieved what we wanted to do. That's the whole point of it, in my opinion.
The only thing that tipped me off was when I looked at the hay or straw in the loft. I was like, well, that looks a little too big. And then I started looking closer, and then I started putting it two and two together. It was on the Modelers Guild Facebook group, so I was like, it must be a model. And then talking to you last week, I found out that you took the photo with a point-and-shoot camera.
Yeah. That's all I use.
That's all I had for years and years, but I find that remarkable. It's such a fine photo. Put out that kind of photo. Was done from a small camera.
Yeah. Well, of course, if you take your camera back away from the scene, I lose all field of focus. We talked about this the other day, about not having enough stop on a camera, of course, is a real detriment when you're talking about field of focus. So I lose that, of course. But when I want to get up close and detailed, the macro in a point and shoot is entirely suitable for that kind of work. I think it works good.
I'm just looking here to make sure that we don't have any questions on the other stations. I'm going to grab a coffee, guys, if you don't mind. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Edward, you're the man.
Okay. I posted a picture of my old scratch buildings. That's mostly cardstock. It's got issue windows, and the trim is all strip wood, but that's all scratched.
I think it's a great medium, Ed. Cardstock is easy to work with. It colors well. I think it's great.
Well, you know, people go like, they start making noises. And I'm saying, it's just a material, guy. It's, you know,
Yeah.
plastic, wood, brass, whatever. And you use what works. If it don't work, you use something else.
Yeah. Well, I
But
think the other thing is we endeavor to make whatever we're building with look like a natural material or the type of material, and that's a good gauge of your success is whether you can take a manila cardstock and make it look like wood, or plastic and make it look like wood or metal. And that's the whole, you know, it's a good gauge of how well you do is how well you can make a material that you're using replicate something in real life.
yeah,
The more I get into it, I have like my kids always eat cereal and stuff like that, and I collect that stuff like you wouldn't believe now. That's my roofing material. That's the backing for all my wood. Like if I want to make a wood retaining wall for a marine structure, the back's gonna be cereal box.
Uh-huh. Yeah, sure. Whatever works, you know.
And I noticed Edward uses a lot of printed cardstock. I know I was terrible my first few tries, but that was only because I didn't have any faith in its performance.
well, it depends. The clapboard, like in this picture, of course, works better than a printed brick. And part of that reason is what I do is I use a foam board as a substructure, and I can interlock it, and then you just basically are gluing the paper or the cardstock to the outside of that, so you're not worrying about warping like a lot of people have.
Yeah.
But then what you're doing is like what I did was print. I made a big sheet of just clapboard, and then what I did was cut out 2 board wide strips, and so I could overlay them by half a board or single board, whatever it is. So you get actual, and like, you know, this is about in O scale about 3/4 inch thick. So you're actually using a scale board.
Yeah. Board by board.
Yeah, I mean, it's tedious, but part of the reality is, you guys know, for something people go, oh well, it looks so real. Well, yeah, and it took me a long time to do it. It's not snapped together.
Yeah, I feel the same way about roofing material. Takes a long time to do it, but course by course is the way to go. Yeah.
I agree. Speaking about foam board, I use foam board a lot. I use that for my base. I use that for concrete. I use it for brick roads. I use it for retaining walls. That foam core works great for nearly everything. Foam core and concrete paint.
I also found architectural task board, which is basically a heavy cardboard, but it's solid and it doesn't have a pattern on it. Is a nice building material. You can carve stones in it. It glues easy, and it's got some structure to it, so you don't need to brace as much.
Actually, that's something that me and Nick were talking about a couple of weeks ago. He was asking me about that stuff, and I forgot the name of it, and it's called Architectural Task Board.
Architectural task board, yeah. And it's funny, I had, I'm sure you all are familiar with the name Ken Hamilton.
Oh, yeah.
Ken and I are good friends. We've known each other for years and met several times. And Ken turned me on to this architectural task board, and he gave me a website, and they actually sent a bunch of free samples out to me. Well, in HO scale, I'm able to build a couple of buildings with the samples that I got. So, you know, but I can't remember the name of the outfit. I wish I could, or I'd give it to you so you could get your free samples.
I think I got the free sample a few years ago, and I've looked high and low to try and find this stuff so that I could send it to Nick because he wants to use it in the manufacturing of his kits.
Good idea. Good idea. I can see where if you're in a moisture area that it would warp. I can see where, you know, a product like that could warp and would need to be braced well. But that's not an issue. I think it's imperative that you brace your buildings anyway. So
Yeah, brace and seal them.
Yeah. And seal them, right? Yep, inside and out.
Yeah, because you know, I have a few old kits that spent some time in storage in the shed, and those walls are warped.
Even styrene, even a heavy styrene will warp over time. You know, it's inevitable. I mean, we're dealing with products that are so thin, so small, that they just can't remain stable. It's just impossible.
It's very true, and I've heard a couple of comments when I've been out and about talking to modelers. They say, well, what's the deal with the kit that comes with the interior wall joists? And that's the use case for interior wall joists, is to keep your walls from warping.
Right. Right. Well, I'm lucky enough to have, I mean, I'm a woodworker, so I have access to all different kinds of wood, and of course I have the machinery, so I mill up all of my own wood if I'm doing a wood project of any kind, and I can make the bracing whatever I want, and in fact, I've even gone so far as to take solid blocks of wood and glued my, like a roof system, for instance, just make a solid block that's the size of the roof and cover it in my roofing material.
Oh, that's a good idea.
It's not going anywhere.
So true. So, you? Oh, there's Edward showing some photos. What are those photos of?
That's the way I use my foam core. Is I make an interlock. I just make a notch, and I mean, I do glue them, but it goes together without glue because it's almost like a laser kit, I guess. It just, and then that is 30, and really.
That's on 30.
Yeah, that's O scale. That's let me see. I got a picture. See, I gotta share it again. 1 second.
Oh, I got it.
Okay, that isn't just put together. The one on top is one that was just cardstock.
Yeah.
And then I built another one using the foam core, and you can see it just snaps together. But so
you don't have to paint the inside because it already came black.
Yeah, I used black, and I wasn't worrying about there's actual window, but you can't see anything. Oh, that's good. It's updating. See, that's where I'm cutting the walls out for the printed stuff, right?
Oh, I see.
And then I layered these two. I printed 2 copies, cut out individual boards, and layered so you get a 3D effect.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, that's the only complaint I have about the printed stock is the fact that you lose the structure. But if you're going to print out each individual board and lay it on there, you're going to get that texture. You're going to see the individual boards. Yeah, good idea.
You can see that picture right there. I'm cutting them out, and then the thing about this, the black kind of looks like to me like tar paper that's up under the wood or something, But
yeah, there you go. Yeah.
But yeah, I've got some. I got some pictures of something else if I can find it.
I guess that's a good point, though. When you use this cardstock stuff, people you might expect to just have one step. You glue it to the outside and it's done. Well, if you glue it to the outside and it's done, it's not going to have that texture right, or realism added to it. But as we can see from your photos, is you start cutting it apart and it starts looking good.
Yeah.
Well, here's a picture. Preview. I guess I got it. I don't know what it's doing. Let's see.
Of course, this process works great with boards and clapboards and that kind of thing, but I certainly wouldn't want to be picking individual bricks out of an HO scale printed board.
Holy smokes.
Check that picture. That is the that's printed, but it's in the you know there are two boards at a time cut out and overlaid. Come on, that's a close shot.
Oh yeah, no. Again, I think you're doing it just right. It's beautiful. That's like novelty siding I see there. Or is that just quite a shadow?
Well, see, the print comes with, as it's printed off, it has a shadow under each of the boards.
I see.
So what I did was, what I do is I glue that to the foam board under part. Then I come back and use that as a guide. In other words, I use trying to work and trying to get a better photograph here. And this is the building. Come on, my little my webcam controller keeps popping up in my way. Come on, there.
We needed technical difficulties graphic.
There's the
We
building.
need somebody knows what they're doing, right?
There's a building with the camera drawn back a little bit. Like I said, the trim is strip wood and the window is tissue, but everything else is printed.
Oh wow!
Nice concrete too.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, you know, check out. I figured how I made the rotted concrete. What I did is I took some foam, that green foam that you use to build your layout with.
Floral foam.
Huh? No, it wasn't foam. It was it's the insulation you buy at Lowe's for
Oh, okay.
a lot of guys use the foam to build their layout.
Yeah.
And I took a rasp. Yeah, it's a styrofoam. I took a rasp and made some crumbles, and I put them in with a plaster, and then I came back when it was hardened with some solvent, MEK, and I just painted on it and melted the foam and left the.
Yeah.
It worked pretty good.
That's a great idea.
It was like, oh, that works.
That foam will carve nice too if you have a good sharp blade. You can carve stones in it and.
A good.
Well, I've got a picture of that. I built a 1/24th scale shed. It's been a couple years ago now, but it was. Of course, it's like everybody else. If I can find it, let's see, the whistle post. Here it is.
A good sharp knife is very important for working on that stuff, though. You know, if you don't have a sharp knife, it starts pulling on the styrofoam. You know, chunk off in circles, and it doesn't look very realistic at all.
Yeah, no, it tears. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
What is that?
This no, I'm gonna see if I can try to put a picture up here.
Yeah, let me explain it to you. So what you do is you bring your picture up in a preview window on your computer, and then after that you go to the left side of the Hangout, and there's a green button with an arrow pointing right called Screen Share. And then
I did it.
Yeah, and then you'll be able to pick the window that you want to share.
I just put a picture up. That's carved out of the blue styrofoam. That's a 1/24th.
Oh wow, the Chester's got one up too.
Yeah, that little retaining wall is extruded styrofoam.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Now, do you cut those pieces off separately and glue them onto a backing?
No, that is a sheet that I carved the stones in. I just carved them in with a knife.
Oh wow.
I used a straight edge. You can see all the stones are straight. You know, there's not a the courses are straight.
Yeah.
But here on the Maine coast, a lot of breakwaters, a lot of stone piers are made of cut granite, so they are laid almost like bricks. They're all the courses are straight, as you see there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah. I live. My house is only about 100 yards from the water here, and I'm out there all the time on the water. And the area that I live in is old and established. It's been around. They've been fishing here for 150 years. So there's a lot of old stone piers, and of course, this area is known for its granite. Rockland. They say that half of Washington D.C. is Rockland granite. So you know, there's a lot of cut granite work around here.
Oh wow.
Yeah. It's easy. I get a lot of good subjects to photograph. There's a lot of
Oh,
nice
no.
things to photo.
That figure goes perfectly with that shot, by the way.
I actually my research photo folder is pretty much exclusively Maine photos of the harbors and the marine.
Yeah, I'm amazed at how this area is so popular with model railroaders. Of course, there's a lot of diversity here. There were a lot of narrow gauge lines in the area back when.
I think it would be the narrow gauge component to the marine modeling, because narrow gauge is so popular.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're friends with Ken Hamilton. He's the other guy. There's two guys who when they take pictures of their photos, you gotta look twice. And he's the other guy. I find it funny that you're a friend of his.
Well, Ken's a true artist. I mean, Ken studied art and has a formal background in the business. So I take everything that he says, you know, and I apply it as best I can, because not only that, but he's a great guy. He's very informative. I went a couple summers ago. I drove all the way down to Philadelphia to see an art show that featured his miniatures, and it was very interesting to look at the public outside of the railroad crowd there to gauge to look at their reactions. It was interesting. I got a kick out of it. We stood in the corner and chuckled the whole time, you know, because it's the kind of stuff that we like and do, and we know it, and all these people were oohing and ahhing good and really making a big deal out of his stuff, which they should. It's fantastic work, but you know,
that was the one where he had his the old building that's being torn down.
He had probably 8 or 10 different dioramas on display. And he had a couple of 187 scale dioramas. People don't realize it, but Ken works in 187 scale. His stuff is unbelievable. He did a hot rod, one of the Jordan hot rods, and the engine is all wired, and there's the plumbing, the electrical lines, and the brake lines, and it's really a phenomenal model for the scale. Something I could never do. He's just unbelievable.
I need to check him out because he just moved to South Carolina.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah,
he's about 60 miles from me.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, in fact, I went to the town that he's moving to. I just went out there to eat lunch just to check it out and send him some pictpictures and stuff. I got to get down there. I mean, he's a neighbor now, so I got to get down there and at least go buy him buy him a burger, I suppose.
Take him a bottle of whiskey. He'll like that.
Okay, well, I was going to say beer, but a lot of guys are like, Oh, I don't do that kind of stuff. You know.
Yeah, right. I don't know. He's on his second marriage, and his second wife has Judy. She has put him on the straight and narrow path, so he may not be to taking booze anymore. I don't know.
I know he was. He posted a video of his dogs, his greyhounds, running around like crazy. Evidently they like the move.
Yeah, they're into the what do they call that? Not restoration, but they save the retired greyhound racers.
Okay, yeah. Well, they were sitting there, and they had one was in a video. She was running full out inside the yard. It was like, and the other one was just sitting there watching her.
It'd be nice to get Ken on the show to explain some of his craft. He'd be another guy who would have great content for video for YouTube as well as yourself, Chester.
Well, he wrote a book. It's excellent. His diorama, how to build diorama backdrops for automobiles, for models, car models, and I was geared towards the 124 scale crowd. Of course, you know, those guys, you know, they do some phenomenal work with their vehicles and all, but unfortunately you don't always see them in a nice display because a 124 scale garage has got to be huge. You know, I can't imagine that many guys building backdrops, and yet a scale setting for our models really validates them. It takes them off of a white blank page and gives them a storyline. You know,
a nice day to encapsulate.
Column for the modeling for a car modeling magazine. I don't know if he still is or not, but
who published that book that Ken did? Was it Kalmbach?
I believe it was. It's from Scale Auto Magazine. So it would be Kalmbach, yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll have to check that out.
Don't know whether you can see that.
How to build creative dioramas for your Scale Auto models.
Yeah. Very informative. He talks about not just the layout and how to do a base and all that, but he also gets into a lot of weathering techniques and things like that, how to weather signs and metal and things like that. So it's a fairly comprehensive little book here. Unfortunately, you go to buy this today. I saw one go up on eBay for like $300. So,
holy smokes!
So they're not cheap anymore. They're very desirable and collectible, I guess. And I have a signed copy.
Put that up on eBay. Get an unsigned copy.
Well, when I'm ready to retire, I'm going to sell it, I guess.
I'm looking at his a lumber stacker diorama from the Modeler's Annual.
Yeah.
Back, let's see.
Another great magazine, by the way.
Let's see.
Oh yeah, that is a great magazine.
I love my Modelers Annuals. I'm sorry to see they're not in print anymore. Yeah, that's a good one, Ed.
Yeah, I mean that was 125th because he used the old Clampett Model A, Model T, whatever it was for the base for that thing, for his stacker.
Oh, that stacker was an amazing model. He got some great photography out of that one too. He took it to a lumber yard and used the lumber yard for the backdrop.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, unbelievable stuff. I should probably pop up his Fotke page. He has a compendium of all his photographs in his Fotke account.
I think it was him that I stole. He had a step-by-step on building a wheel, and for one of his vehicles, And
Yeah.
I use that to make. I basically copy the method to make a big pulley. And I was surprised that by breaking the steps down into, in small steps, it actually wasn't hard as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he's the one that taught me about modeling subassemblies to get to treat each subassembly as a model in and of itself, and then to assemble into a much larger model that makes up a whole piece.
Yeah.
So and he is good at. First of all, he's very good at sharing his knowledge. He's not afraid to let anybody know how he does things, and a lot. I go on. Well, you know, Ed. We were on the Westlake Publishing site. He used to be on a lot, and he would share anything with you. He's not interested in making money. He's on CDs and things like that. So he's good like that.
Oh, that's another reason why I need to go down and see him.
All right, there you go. Pick up some freebies. I'm going for coffee, so I'm going to be out of the picture for a minute.
There's in that town he moved to, there's a real nice little small town restaurant. It'll be a perfect place to meet up. Other than the fact the waitress looked like she was from New Jersey or some. I mean, she had piercings and tattoos and the mohawk.
She's a modern girl.
Yeah.
I'm moving into my new shop this week, so I'm getting jealous because I can see in both Chester's background all his paints there on the shelves, and in your background I see all the scenic supplies.
Yeah. What I did is those are if I can move my camera down, those are little three shelf, little cheap 3-shelf units from the Walmart.
Yeah.
And those are plastic tubs that are labeled like parts, drill bits, structural parts, static grass, and that sort. So it's the only way I can find anything.
Tell me about it. I just I'm living in a small apartment right now in a little transitionary period, so most of my stuff went into storage, and if finding your stuff in storage is hell.
Well, I have this little thing. I can't. Maybe you guys know what it is. It looks like it's a little like a cup with like a magnifying glass on top and set over something. It's like a tabletop magnifier, but it's got like a little scale. It's got a scale across the bottom, so it's in millimeters, so you can like put it over something, you can get an exact a size. And I know I have it somewhere, but I can't locate it because I was like, you're trying to measure something to find the drill size, right?
Yeah.
And this you can just put it across it and be like, 2.5 millimeters or whatever. And it's a great tool.
Like a handy tool. Hope you find it. I'd like to see it.
It's a reticle. I'm trying to think. It's a reticle magnifier or something like that. I can't even find the name of it anymore. I bought it off of off of Amazon. But,
of course, then there's those tools that you buy that you never use. I bought a magnifier that has alligator clips that are all adjustable and a real heavy base, and I thought that this would be great for soldering brass and stuff. You can hold the two pieces and then hold your solder and your soldering iron with your hands, and everything would be. I don't think I've used the thing once. I tried it once, and then it was like, this is useless. I can't do this.
Yeah, I went to Micromart. I bought a little saw. I bought a little miter saw. It was like a little from modelers, and it had like a little miter saw that you could put your angles on and clamp your stuff in. And I used it one time and put it on the shelf. It was like, this is a piece of junk.
Right, right. Time for
I've got one of those stands that you were talking about, Chester, myself, and the kids use it to burn up ants.
Right.
No,
There you go.
what I did find handy was I got one of those little Harbor Freight miter saws, the cheap ones, and they're not strong enough to even cut through hardwood. They cut through balsa. That's about it. But I took off the part of it and bolted it down to like a little a table, and I just use it for straight cuts. I don't do it on miter stuff, and it cuts straight. Unlike my chops. Oh my! By the way, my chop saw, my little the razor blade, single edge razor blade chop saw.
The chopper?
Yeah, I put mine somewhere like 3 days ago, and I can't find the darn thing. I've been through my house like 4 times. Like, come on! That thing's too big to lose.
Yeah, I know. I use that a lot, actually. You have to clean up your cuts on the chopper, but I really like.
We're talking right now, and you lay something down, and then you can't find it. It's like, I don't know.
You know what my grandfather used to say about that? If it was up your ass, you'd know where it was.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. I can't find it. Yeah, you know where, if it was there, you know where it was. Yeah. A lot of truth there.
There is.
So how about when you lose something, you miss it, and a week later it's sitting right in front of you? There's no evidence in there at the time.
Well, you know, it's funny because I work doing carpentry a lot, and I'll stick pencils in my hat. I put pencils in my hat. And I'll be walking around the job site saying, where the hell did I put that pencil? And there it is, right there.
Yeah, everybody's looking at you with that big smile on their face. They won't tell you either.
Should we tell this dummy or what?
Yeah, that chopper, I really like using the chopper, except for the fact that if you don't use a one-sided blade, there's a lot of cleanup on your cuts that you have to do.
Well, the problem I got with it is, unless the blade is really sharp, it tends to, it flexes.
Yeah, it's not a straight cut if it's a thick piece of wood.
Right. And that's what I like about this little rigged up, use that word, rigged up chop saw I got from Harbor Freight is it makes a straight cut.
Yeah.
And I keep saying I want to purchase the Proxion chop saw.
Oh, okay.
Which is a really nice little modeler's chop saw, but I bought the I actually bought that Micromart table saw, the little modeler's table saw.
I used to have one of those. Yep.
Now I bought it, and then I found out. I remember reading, oh, it's new and upgraded. It has digital. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Same price. Oh, that's cool. So I get here and I find out that yeah, and they've changed the blank insert where the blade sticks through. They had a so I had to make one out of Lexon or whatever it is.
Yeah. Good product for that.
But I tried cutting some strip wood, but all I had was some poplar, and I really need to get some basswood to see if I can get maybe a better lumber from that. I think it's I don't know how much harder poplar is than basswood. I know it is somewhat hard. But I've done some. I know that I've used the dowel when I'm making like my pier. Okay.
Poplar's known as a hard softwood, or also
Right.
known as a paintable hardwood. It's actually a hardwood, but it's the softest of the hardwoods.
Well, I read somewhere that balsa was a hardwood, so I don't know, but I mean,
Well, yeah, I basically use white pine because I can pick it up anywhere. I usually have a bunch of it left over, and if you buy what they call clear vertical grain white pine, it's excellent for for modeling because it cuts well, it glues well, and it sands well. And just something to throw out there. I cut my own. Of course, as I said, I cut my own, and I can get that stuff so that you can see through it. It's so thin, and it stays together nice. I like it.
is that anything like sugar pine?
Well, sugar pine is a type of white pine, yes. The only thing about sugar pine is that sugar pine has a lot of sap in it.
All right,
Yeah.
down here in the south, all we've got is yellow pine, because that is the tree down here, and
Yeah.
we got poplar and oak. I mean, if I go to Lowe's, which is the only, it's 2 miles away, I got oak over in the nice wood section where they got real pretty. It's all planed and all that. They got poplar and they got yellow pine. It's pine. So.
Yeah. Well, I've been fortunate, of course, in my business. I use a lot of veneers too, so I've got probably a dozen different species of veneers that I can pick through, and occasionally I'll pick one out. Red birch has a good grain for 1/87 scale. It's a nice tight grain, so it can look in scale. But the veneers are nice to work with too. They're actually a little too thick sometimes.
Yeah, I worked with veneers just before I started model railroading. I was working in stair building shop, and we used to use veneers for the circular stairs, and I have a box of offcuts. Offcuts and veneer, for HO scale, they're all big enough.
Yeah, sure.
We also used to use our carpet stairs used to be white pine or sugar pine. The only thing I find about sugar pine is if you don't get it painted or sealed before a certain time, it starts to yellow.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah.
It will, but it takes color good too. That's the other reason I like it. It doesn't take much to get a good color to it. I know guys have so much angst over, since the loss of this flow quill. What is it? Silver. What was the big popular color?
Driftwood.
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 The loss of that, there's so many guys who are like they're pulling their hair out. How do I color my wood? How do you? And really, I don't think there's a whole lot of secret to it.
But that's just like when people go in the forums, they go, "What paint should I use for concrete?" Which I bust out laughing because I say I grab whatever I got within arm length.
Right. Right.
A yellow, a white, an off-white, a gray. I mix them together, and I go, okay, that kind of looks like concrete to me. And then you
right.
paint it and you dry brush it, and it's like there's no such thing as. I mean, I'll use a concrete base color that says concrete, but I use that just to get a start.
Yeah.
I do the same thing.
When I just painted that recent thing that I finished, that brick workshop, has a styrene floor, and I just got the paints out of a little bit of gray here, a little bit of brown, a little bit of black, mix it up and shoot it, and it's just do it by eye. I mean, I think one thing that an awful lot of modelers make, the mistake that they make, is they model after other models. And I think what you have to do is you have to you model real life. So that's what you have to look at. Don't try to replicate another model and what another guy has done, because your techniques and the way you do things are never going to be completely in sync with the way that guy did it, you know.
Well, the thing is, I was out driving a while back, some little back road. I was just driving around, and the road was an old concrete road, not an asphalt. And by the way, I told somebody, says, you realize asphalt road is actually asphalty, and it's actually asphalt concrete. It's the asphalt. Would you say asphalt is actually mixed with concrete? Anyway,
with aggregate, yeah.
Yeah, it was no concrete road, and it changed to a red concrete, and it was because they had the red rocks in the concrete. So you're going down this road, and you're this old beat up kind of grayish concrete road, and all of a sudden it turns red.
Yeah.
So when you say what is concrete, I don't know. What is concrete? It depends what materials they use and how weathered it is and how old it is, and
right.
what is the surrounding rocks and soil that stain it.
Yeah. What kind of aggregate you use in concrete determines a lot of what color it is. That's right.
No, I mean.
Couple of years ago, I got a weathering kit from Woodland Scenics, and it had a couple of colors and paint in it, but the one color was concrete. And before that, I'd use any sort of gray or I'd use anything. But when I got this pack, I noticed that there's a little bit of yellow in the concrete, and it really made a tone that I have never been able to match. So I just took that color to Lowe's, and I got a small quart of paint made of that color for $15, and that's the base of my concrete forever and ever. Amen. Until that paint goes sour.
Well, you know, there's a cool thing there. If you can take these any paint, you know, railroad paints, and I took them down to I was Home Depot, I think, but Lowe's does the same thing. It has these little samples, and they're like 6 ounces, 7 ounces, something like this, and they're on the cheap. But they'll scan a sample that you bring to them, and it's a latex based paint. But I'm like, man, what's your point? So it's latex based. I could care less. And then you get into the thing is well, what is latex? Well, it's called acrylic latex. It's actually the between acrylic and pure latex. What you buy usually is a mix of them, because the more acrylic is the higher grade the paint, and it's all names that people use. And it's like, these kids don't get all bent out of shape about, well, this is latex. Okay, is it an acrylic latex? Is it a quality latex? Look on the side. It'll tell you. It's got acrylic in it. I mean,
yeah.
You know, it's like they get all like.
Well, acrylic is plastic. You know, and what they're doing is they're adding plastic to a water-based paint, latex, and depending on, so that you can paint with a plastic and use water cleanup or water thinning. That's the whole idea behind acrylic and latex. And you're right, they do mix it in different ratios depending upon the durability of it. I try to stay away from latex, more latex in a paint personally, because I think that it lays on the surface more and doesn't really penetrate the wood or whatever you're painting on. But it almost peels off like a plastic if you.
Well, yeah, it makes a scum coating, but it's if you're painting like scenery, I like it for stuff like that, or just for wide areas where you're thinning it, because I thin it out and use it to like cover the surface as an underlay. But you're correct in the fact that if you paint latex paint itself it actually makes a plastic, when it dries you can actually peel it off, almost like a scum.
Yep.
I've For everybody's information who are devastated by the loss of driftwood, Richard Bendover's shop, what is it, Dr. Ben's? They make a great version of it.
It's good to know.
I made a driftwood. Somebody posted a mix, and I used some stuff from I don't remember what it was. It was an oil base.
Minwax makes a driftwood stain, and it's very similar to the Flow Quill, and you can buy it in quart cans for the same as you would the 3-ounce bottle or 1-ounce bottle of Flow Quill. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of like when you look at the for your solvent. If you look at your tester's cement, it says it's MEK with a couple of other chemicals added to it. Well, I just bought a big
jug of MEK. Yeah.
Hey, it's just like I can't tell the damn difference.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
What's MEK?
Methyl ketone. It's the main ingredient. If you look at your tester cement, it says MEK. It's got a couple of oh, I got one right here. It says contains acetates and methyl ethyl ketone. Well, methyl ethyl ketone, I can go to Lowe's and buy a quart for, I don't know, what, $8 or something like that?
Yeah.
I
if
mean,
you want a thicker, it's very watery, but if you want a thicker version of it, take a little bit and pour it into a bottle, and then take some styrene sprue, some sprue from an old model or something, chunks of styrene, mix it in there. They will dissolve, and it will give you a thicker solvent-based glue, something that you can brush on, whereas the MEK is like water. It's very thin.
Well, I tell you, another place is walk over to the plumbing section where they got the solvents for the PVC pipe.
Yeah.
A couple of those got MEK as a base. So, but I mean, you can buy a gallon of MEK at a store for like $16 or something, and it's like a
lifetime supply.
Oh yeah, I mean.
Oh yeah, a gallon of it will last you a lifetime.
I mean, that right there, that's actually a tester's bottle that's got an MEK in it. I mean, it works.
I've been using the Plastruc Bondine, 10X7, a lot of those really thin, and like the Plastruc product is MEK. That's essentially all that it is MEK. And but I've used their bottle still, and I just fill it up with MEK to use it on the styrene. The one thing you have to be careful of with MEK is that it's got a lot of vapors in it. You walk away with a jag on, and it's a cheap jag, but you got to be careful breathing the stuff.
Yeah,
acetone causes cancer in a big way.
That's what I've heard too. But you got to go somehow. I mean, I'm not a big safety fan. I don't. My work. OSHA would fine me. Up and down. I figure, well, I'm doing this, and I've been doing it long enough. I know what I'm doing, and if I'm making a mistake, then I'm the one that's going to pay for it.
You know, it's funny. When I was at Fort Hood, Texas, I remember they had this big warning about when we changed the hydraulic fluid in a tank. You had to wear a respirator, rubber gloves, a face shield, and all this sort of stuff. And we're sitting down there with this spraying on us from like we have a leak and it's under pressure, so all of a sudden you get a face full of hydraulic fluid, and it's dripping down your neck, and you're going, oh yeah, that respirator thing, that worked really good.
Yeah. Well, hydraulic fluid it won't hurt you so much when it's cold, but I've torn into a machine that was just running, and that hydraulic fluid can get hot, and it's bad stuff then. It's really nasty. You want a protection. You want a hazmat suit.
Yeah, yeah. The problem is if you're in you're actually in real life as opposed to a government OSHA guy sitting there giving you directions. I mean, you're sitting there. Like I said, I was a tanker for 12 years. You're sitting there in the field trying to pull a part of the turret to replace it, and you got hydraulic fluid from your head down to your feet. It's like, you know, if you can't take that, you need to get another job. But like you said, you know, it's like, oh well, I'm not gonna run screaming into the woods going, oh help me, I'm covered in hydraulic fluid.
Well,
Yeah,
the thing about acetone is that they used to use it pretty much straight in the paint way back after, like, before a certain time, maybe before the 80s or something like that. And you know, modelers would be down in their basements without a paint hood or one of those paint vacuum systems, and they'd be sucking up the fumes with no problem. This stuff smells good, but it's doing real bad things to you.
You know, if I had my druthers, I would put an exhaust fan right where I was modeling. I probably should, based upon this conversation. I usually don't, but it would be a wise thing to do. The problem is I model right here. I got one of those little fold out, you know, a copy. No, it's a TV dinner table, a little wooden thing.
Yeah.
And I set it to one side of the computer as I'm doing something.
Nick, who was on earlier, down in his basement, he's got an old oven.
Good, yeah.
Oven fans, and you just turn that thing on, it sucks it up through the little filter there. It works awesome.
I usually spray in my wood shop, which has 18-foot ceilings, so the vapors never get concentrated where I'm really overwhelmed by them. Sometimes, and I spray a lot of lacquers, so and that's really nasty stuff. The lacquer thinner, it can be, I mean, it'll take your breath away if it's too strong. But I've really never had a problem with. I do have a fan that I put at the one end of the building, and it blows away from me, so that helps. But generally, I don't have a spray booth or any of that business. It's sitting here at the little cramped little desk with, like I said, with the MEK fumes going, and you're gluing up styrene, and it can get nasty.
Yeah. I try to go outside because my father just passed away from lung issues, and it's time for me to start thinking about that stuff.
Yeah, well, and I know if you have caught me, but I'm smoking cigarettes here, so my lung. I don't pay much attention to them. I probably will regret it someday. But
Speaking of stuff, check this out. This is I made this up, and this is a water base, so it can warp the wood. But this it makes a nice grate, and it's made from it says FeSO4. It's ferrous sulfate. They're little iron pills that you take for dietary stuff, and it's old woodworking thing from in the old days when the woodworkers wanted to make a gray solution, and it actually chemically grays the wood.
Yeah.
And it says you figure it can't be poisonous since you buy it for people. It's a dietary supplement.
Right.
So what is that called again?
Okay. If you go to the drugstore, to the Walmart, over there where they got like the green, all the not the drug, but the supplements that they sell, you know, the roots and all that kind of crap. It's an iron sulfate. It's an iron pill.
Iron sulfate.
Iron sulfate. There's iron pills, is what they say. and you just grind it up, or you crush it up, and you put it, you dissolve in water. You put it in some hot, boil some water or in the microwave, whatever, and that's it. It makes it's a ferric sulfate. FeSO4 is actually what it is. Like I said, it's iron pills. People actually take them, and
I'll
you
be,
mix it, and it works.
I'll be trying that out actually because I've got a reddish stain that I use for making. I use steel wool, and I put the steel wool into vinegar,
Yeah.
and it makes a nice red stain. It actually goes. It looks just like redwood, like West Coast redwood.
Yeah. Yeah. I do that too, but I let it dry out, and in the end, you're left with a jar full of red powder, and it's a great dusting powder for models, like a weathering powder.
Well,
That's a great idea. I have one of those bottles dried out. I'm going to try that.
it's
Yeah.
funny. I read somewhere somebody was asking again in one of the forums, what color should I make the red to look like an old barn or an old, a mine? And I'm like, dude, they made it from iron oxide because it was cheap.
Yeah.
You've got a binder of some sort, and whatever color iron oxide that they come in different colors depending on the purity and the other chemicals. There's no answer. It's whatever.
Yeah. The binder used to be buttermilk.
Yeah.
Of all things.
Well, I mean, all you guys do is leave milk in a glass and try to clean it afterwards. It's like good gravy.
Yeah. Buttermilk and lye, or I'm sorry, buttermilk and lime used to be the basis of whitewash. That was what they painted a lot of barns with. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I have buttermilk paints that I use in my business, and I'll actually use them. The colors are great. They're powder, and they're in powder form, and you just mix them with water now. But the colors are nice old antique colors, and I use them a lot in my modeling. I just thin them out a little more, and they're made to replicate old furniture. That's the whole idea behind the initial sale of the paint. So they work great for making an old-looking building.
Where do you get paints like that?
That's a good question. I have gone to ordering them online, and I'd have to run out to my barn to get a bag. The company, I can't think of the name of the company. I think the name of the company actually is Old Buttermilk Paint. And I don't know whether if you Googled that you would find it or not, but they come in bags of powder. And the other nice part about it is this powder, if you find the right combinations of color, it's a good weathering powder as well. I use it, like I use black on the bottom edges of boards and things like that, and just dust them with the powder, and it sticks nicely like a say a Bragdon's or an AIM powder. It works really nice over what I normally use is artist chalks if I can't find the color that I want in the buttermilk paint.
I'll be adding all this stuff to the show notes for the recorded show. Like I'll find out where to get those paints and all that jazz, and I'll put in the show notes also where to get the driftwood for the people who are lost without it.
Yeah.
Well, it's like I did a thing the other day. I did that. I modified that little caboose hobbies throw.
Yeah.
The ground throw, and people are like, "Oh, it looks so great!" And all that. I'm like, I just painted it with some rust paint and scrubbed some weathering powder on it. That was it.
Mm.
It was because the paint was a Model Master. I think it's Model Master, their rust, which is an enamel. It's too shiny and slick looking. But I used Doc O'Brien as the weathering powder I got, and the only reason for that was that's who Michael Mark was selling. So 'Cause I
Another
learned-
another good source of weathering powders is if you go to a home improvement center. I don't know if Lowe's and Home Depot do it, but I know some of the local lumber yards have sample packets of concrete tints.
Right.
Things that
Oh,
they use to
wow.
concrete, and they're usually free. You don't have to buy them. They'll give you these little boxes, and they have an assortment of colors in them, and they make great weathering powders. They don't last long because there's not much powder in them, but they do work well.
You remember years ago? I mean, I'm talking about in the mid '80s. You could go to the not hardware, I guess lumber store or something, and you could buy they were powdered tints for paint. It was at the time. It was and you could get a iron oxide and the black and the brown and some other colors, and they were powdered. And the idea was you added the powder to I guess a base. Now it's all done with machines, and of course they don't want to sell it because that's do it yourself,
Well, you still can buy tints, but generally they come in a tube, and they're a liquid. They come in a tube, paste.
Right.
My father was big on changing the colors of things, and he would tint his paints with tubes of oil based.
Right. My favorite, I guess, tint when I'm doing a layout, because I like the kind, is I got this. It's a brown powdered tempera. And it's actually a reddish color, and I like to basically paint my base color of my rock, and then I take it and I just sift this across it, and then hit it with like water, spray on there, and it washes it all down into the cracks and that sort of thing. Of course, when I go to Michael's, if they got powdered tempera, they got everything but the brown, which I don't understand, since the brown is actually probably an iron oxide base, and why they don't have a basic brown color, I don't know. But I ordered something when I ordered from Dick Blick last time.
Those really cheap craft paints from Walmart are excellent for doing an awful lot of things that we do, and I even found that if you thin them correctly, they're sprayable, and they're 89 cents for a couple ounce.
Oh, you talking about the little like folk art paints and stuff?
Folk art, apple barrel, ceramic coat.
I use them all the time for all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, what I like about them too is 90% of them dry absolutely flat, so they give you a nice. I like most everything I do. I leave flat. I don't make shiny trucks. First of all, I think they look like toys when you put a high gloss on a 187 scale vehicle. I'm not. What is it? That scale effect that you're seeing? When you're a certain distance away from something, and you never see a shine, and when you're 200 feet away from something. So I always do a dull coat on pretty much everything I do, and flat paints are a big help. They also help chalk adhesion. When I'm putting chalks on at the end, they stick to a flat finish better than a glossy finish.
More texture to stick to.
So yeah, there's more tooth to it, more tooth to the model. So, and I use them for all my washes. I use these cheap acrylics, and the only thing about them is, of course, if you go with acrylic washes and you're doing 3 or 4 different color washes, you have to seal each one, or the subsequent wash will pull the first one off or mix with it. And so,
but that's what I used on that. I posted that picture at Pier. That wall was all done using those folk art and all that. Like you said, I thin them down to their own wash, just so it lets whatever the color underneath show through. You're just tinting the. I mean, I tell people, don't, if you do it by layers, You can layer your tints until you say, okay, I'm happy. That's all I want.
Exactly. That's
But
right.
I'll tell you another thing at Walmart. If you walk over to the next aisle, usually where the kids section is, where the little kids, get their project stuff, and they got the nylon paint brushes. There's the throwaway. Well,
Yeah.
you get like a couple of dollars, you can get like 30 paintbrushes that you can use one time. And they're not worth anything. But
Oh yeah.
if you're using it for something that you're gonna like, it's corrosive or it's gonna damage the brush anyway, you're just transferring a medium to something.
Yeah.
I got some of them like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like a chip brush. You go to Harbor Freight, you can buy a box of chip brushes.
Right.
So, 100 brushes, for a few dollars, and just use them and lose them. You don't have to worry about.
Until you get down to the last couple, then you're cleaning them.
Yeah.
You're too lazy to go out and buy another box full of them. The last 2 or 3 get.
But they're great for fiberglass work or anything that you're gonna, like you say, you don't want to clean them. But stuff like I just posted a picture. That's my ground throw, and that is just a rust color paint that was too bright enamel, but I brushed on some weathering powders, and everybody's like, "Oh, that's so great!" And I'm like taken aback a little bit because I'm like, "Well, dude, it's just weathering powder rubbed on some something."
I think that's what gives these YouTube videos and stuff a lot of merit, is because people think that these techniques are so hard to do, and once you see them done in a YouTube video, you see how people are just slapping this stuff on. You basically toss it into a fan and it could go on the model and it looks great.
I mean, you've seen Trolls Kurt's CD, his technique CD?
Yeah.
He grabs this brush that's about the size of my thumb, and he says, I'm like, my God, we're using we're using a 000 brush, and Trolls is like, he's got this god-awful big brush up there, and his palette's like this bucket, with all colors. It's like, oh, just slop it on.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what else is very helpful, especially when you're doing a lot of landscape work and scenicking and things, and they're really cheap. Those little brushes that you find, they call them flux brushes that plumbers use to put flux on copper pipe when they're going to solder. And they have a little metal handle. They're great for doing landscape work. Like I take the 50-50 water and glue mixtures, and I'm putting down grass or gravel or whatever, and you can paint the area, and then you just throw the brush when you're done.
That reminds me,
They're real cheap.
I got a suggestion or a trick, or what do you want to call it. I was at Lowe's the other day and I bought. Oh, sorry, I've got to close this one.
To bring up a point that was Chester was making. Edward's showing some stuff. Just to bring up a point that Chester was making earlier about paints blending together to sealing each layer of paint. One of my first Craftsman kits that I built was Brett Gallant's Foss. It was a marine model from Sierra West Model Works, and what he said was that you have to, when a paint, there's 2 stages of paint drying, and oh my God, I'm talking about this live. But when a paint dries, it's not cured. It's dry to the touch, but it's wet underneath, and that'll accept paint from on top. And you don't want that to happen mostly. So what he says is that if you let that paint cure overnight, then you can paint on top of it and not worry about it blending into each other.
True.
So Chester's statement about sealing it would speed that up drastically, I'm sure.
Yeah. However, for instance, when I'm doing washes on vehicles, if I put a wash of a burnt umber on the vehicle, and I want to come back and I want to do a lighter rust color, because rust is never the same color on a piece of metal. If you study prototype pictures of rust, and I want to do a raw sienna or something like that over top of it, a raw umber. I use Windex to thin those craft paints, and the Windex will cut through even a cured paint. It will lift it. So I have the airbrush handy, and I just hit them real lightly with a dull coat in between the washes. The other thing is, I'm so impatient. I don't want to wait till tomorrow to put another coat of wash on this thing. I want to do it now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but you're right about curing. And the rule is, if you can smell the paint still on your model, it's not done curing yet. That's what I was.
Good point.
I posted a thing in front of the camera.
Yep.
Yeah.
I had read somebody using this, and I tried it, and I love it. It's much better than white glue and water. It's an acrylic fortifier. It's for adding to concrete. But it's
yeah.
look, if you can see, it's like milk. See that?
Yeah.
Wash around. It's like it use it just like you would white glue and water on your scenery, but it instead of being a whatever white glue is, this is actually an acrylic, and it's great.
Yeah. The only problem I have with white glue is, of course, if it dries and you haven't actually covered the surface, that you're getting the little gloss shows through at you. You know, you have to even dull that up somehow.
Yeah.
But white glue dries glossy.
This stuff seems to dry pretty flat. I mean, I haven't noticed a problem. I mean, I've used it like on ballast and basic, rock and junk I'm just gluing down. I use a lot of paper base for my scenery, since you can buy a half a cubic foot, which I guess is like 50 pounds, for like $3 at Lowe's. I mean, it's you screen it a little bit and you get all it's great stuff. So
there's you talk about stuff that you can pick up in bulk at places like home improvement stores and stuff, and the selection of things that you can use in modeling is just myriad. There's just so much. I use Durabond drywall compound, which is a powder. It comes in a bag for plaster work, and it comes in different drying times. There's Durabond 45, Durabond 90,
Yeah.
Durabond 120, and the drying time determines its hardness. The longer it takes to dry, the harder it gets. So if I'm doing a project where I want to carve something, I'll use the Durabond 45 because it's softer and I can carve easier in it. But if I want something that's going to be really rugged, I use, and a bag of that, as opposed to buying a small bag of plaster of Paris or a modeling type of plaster, is, I mean, you're getting 4 or 5 times as much for the same price. You know?
Yeah.
I cannot.
And there's just so much of that kind of stuff that you can get. I mean, again, wood stains we talked about. That you know.
If you go to the section where they got the tile, and they got this spectral lock. It's a epoxy. It's epoxy grout for tile. Well, they sell 3 parts, A, B, and C. Well, the C part is the actual powder, and it comes in all colors. Somebody's peeking over the shoulder there. Hey, look, Judy was looking over your shoulder there, Ron.
Yeah, that's my daughter.
But yeah, you can get this. It's a powder, and it's for that grout. And I use it for dirt. I mean, you can get everything from a dark to a light to a red to a whatever, and mix them together, and it's
grout makes good dirt.
Actually, on a display layout I was working on with a friend.
Hi, what's your name?
That's my daughter, Jessie. Wave hi, Jessie.
Hi, Jessie.
I was working on a display layout with Joe LeMay for Imagine That Laser Art, and Joe brought in a box of grout and used it for the roads. And the texture of the grout looked unbelievable. Like it was amazing how it was just ready-made road, like tar, chip and tar road basically is what it represented.
Yeah, it's a good texture. It's almost like talc. It's so fine, so you can use it for all different scales of modeling. Yeah, grout's good stuff for modeling. But again, like I say, there would be a good project for somebody to go into a home improvement store and make a list of all of the things you can buy in bulk at a home improvement store or hardware store that you can use in modeling. You know.
Sounds like my next video.
I got one for you. You know, if you want a small diorama for something, a little plaque, and you go to Walmart, you go to Michael's, and you get the little things made plaques, and they're rough, but the woodworking is not very good around where they've done the edges and stuff. I walked over to where they got in Lowe's, where they got the stairs. And the stair pieces make your own stairways. Well, they got the little blocks of wood that's for when the stair goes against the wall. It's some nice woodworking. It makes a perfect plaque, and it's well done.
Sure.
And it's like,
of course, I make all that stuff up myself, and in fact, I use I do a lot of kitchen work, so I use Corian, which is like a marble almost. It's a synthetic. It's a plastic, but it's hard. It's very hard, and you can machine it with molding heads and things like that. So I make up bases out of that stuff to do bases for models and display bases, things like that.
So there, where the cabinets are, would that be where it would be?
I'm sorry. What was that?
Would that be over there where they had the cabinets, like the kitchen cabinets and the bathroom cabinets and stuff?
I don't know as though you can actually buy pieces of Corian anymore. It's a DuPont puts it out. It's a DuPont product, and they got real fussy with their distribution. And you have to have a license now to buy it and distribute it. So I don't know as though you could buy it. But there are a number of products out there. Sorel, there's a couple of them that are they're urea based for countertop material. So I guess you could ask at the kitchen area of your home improvement store if they had something like that. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen the actual big slabs of stuff that goes on top of the counter, and you're supposed to cut out for the sink and all that. So I don't know what that's made of, but it just caught my attention. I always like I'm always looking for something that can machine. I keep eyeballing the PVC materials over. I see stacked up because I said, I can see the stuff online, and out in California, and you can purchase these. They're plastics that's made for machining, for modelers, and that sort of stuff. But the problem is, the shipping costs more than the darn product costs.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
What's the same thing with strip wood?
I've used a lot of that PVC trim on the outside of houses too, yeah. And I save blocks of it because you can machine it. I can take that stuff and run it through and tool it just like wood. You want to put a molding on a piece of plastic, it's easy. You just do it the same with a router or with a shaper or whatever. So it shapes up nice, and it's not, it doesn't rot. It's impervious.
What I was looking for was I've got I got a mini mill. I got the little Proxion mini mill, and by the way, which is too mini, it's too small. But you're always looking for something to make jigs from.
Yeah.
And that's what I was thinking was I tried using, I've used wood to make jigs. You know, and I've used a Sinatra, which is it's a PVC.
Yeah.
A model it's in sheets and for sign, but it's a PVC material. It's a small, what they got, closed.
Well, you mentioned Lexan before. Lexan's a good product for making jigs out of. Plexiglass is also good. I use hard maple, rock maple, to make a lot of my jigs up for my shop. It's easy to machine and tool and make whatever you want out of it, drill it, but Lexan and plexiglass are both good products for making jigs. All the inserts for my saw, my big saws, my woodworking saws, are made out of Lexan and plexiglass.
Right. Well, that's what I used when I made the insert for my new. So I could use I was trying to make strip wood. I had to have the zero clearance for the blade.
Yeah, you mentioned it. Yeah.
Okay, you're the one to ask what blade would be for a small saw like that would be worth. How many would be the finer the tooth would be better for doing scale lumber?
I personally I use I use my big saws even for cutting, and I have a zero tolerance insert for the saw that I use, and they make for big saws, they make what they call a planer blade, which when you run a piece of wood through it, you don't see the saw marks. It actually gives you a really beautiful smooth cut, so that's what I use basically for cutting up strip wood. I don't know whether you would be able to find one for a modeler's saw.
They have the blade that comes with is like 80 tooth or something. This is a general purpose saw blade, but then they sell like 160 and 240 tooth, and they say it's for plywood and that sort of thing. And I was just wondering.
Well, the thing about the saw blades are, of course, everything today is carbide tooth, and the more number of teeth you have, the more aggressive the cut it is. The planer blades are not carbide; they're just steel blades, and they're honed hollow so that as the tooth of the blade cuts through, the rest of the blade clears the wood.
Yeah.
You don't get that back cut when you pass a piece of wood through with a saw. When you look at it, you see all these little circular marks on the wood. Well, you don't get that with a planer blade. But again, I don't know whether they would be offered in a hobby type saw.
I believe they're just. You can buy different kerfs in it
Right.
at the hobby blade. And the whole blade's only 4 inches, something like that. It's 3 or 4 inches blade, and you can basically buy a carbide blade, for doing tile, I suppose, or something. But basically, you're getting the regular one, and you get the one with the finer teeth, which is they talk about. It would be logical if you're cutting a harder material. You don't want a big blade because it's going to grab more than the little blade will. But anyway, I haven't messed too much with that. I tried cutting some wood. It did okay on that poplar. I wasn't. Maybe I need to practice some on it. What, Miss Keith? I got my cats over here bugging the hell out of me. What?
So guys, I'm gonna have to leave soon for the Mother's Day thing. I can leave this up and running so you guys can chat, or we can end it pretty soon, whatever you guys feel like.
You know, actually, I should probably go see how Mom's doing. So.
Yeah, before we get in trouble.
I'm ignoring her.
I'm just about to starve to death.
Okay, well, it looks like it was a pretty good show, and I'll give you guys a link when the show's up on YouTube live.
Excellent. Thank you. Nice talking to you guys.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you for stopping by, Chester. You added a lot to the conversation. I, as a former carpenter, I love the way that we bring in all these cheaper materials and alternatives to the expensive 3-ounce or 1-ounce bottles.
Oh yeah.
I think we had a little theme going through the show there today. Yeah. Very good. Well, you guys take care.
We're all cheap.
Yeah, thanks, Chester. Maybe ask your buddy if he can come on sometime.
Yeah. Good day now.
Okay, bye.
All right, bye.
So, Edward, thanks again for another show.
Okay.
You know, it'd be great. Like, I don't know if you like doing that or not, but it'd be great if you were a co-host with me. That'd be great if you're interested.
Sure. I mean, if I can do it, I don't.
Yeah, I think you know, you always got something to say, you know, and you know, like Chester said, there seems to be a theme to this show, and you know, when people come in, we could guide the theme to the show and stuff like that. I really like how you know, how we work together.
Yeah, I've been on. I know I've been on Model Rail Radio when they theoretically had a theme, and usually it's the Tom Barber keeps it, tries to rope people in as they stroll off in all directions. But sure, I'm up for it.
Awesome. Well, I'll talk to you later on Facebook or something. Okay?
Yeah, I'll be around.
Okay. Talk to you later.
All right.